Hello all, welcome to another video. In this video we will see how we can create a database and tables because we need to pull the information from libraries and books, right? So for that let's use this Clever Cloud, which is a cloud solution for remote databases. You can create databases remotely in the cloud. So let's see. I will explain later, but first let's set up this. I will provide this link. It's a Clever Cloud. You need to sign up with your email address. You can give your email address, password, and this verification code. Then this will be get created. One cloud account will get created for you. What is the difference between the database installed locally and this cloud database is, right? If you want to test something, any database operations locally in your system, in your studio itself, you can go with any MySQL database or Oracle database. You can install it locally and you can use that. But while we are deploying this application into Cloud Hub, your local database will not work. So further, we can use this cloud database. This Clever Cloud is the cloud version of creating databases and tables. We can use this. Okay. So you can give the password based on the length and just type that verification code and click on create. It will and click on sign up. It will create one account for you. Yeah, this is the cloud account. Maybe it will be valid for 30 days or not, but just for your Cloud Hub applications to test your database related integrations in Cloud Hub, it is the best solution for you to use because once you install it locally, it will be you will be facing some issues while deploying it to Cloud Hub. Okay, first we need to actually click on add organization. We are going to provide some organization name and some description and any other address. You don't need to give any valid address here. You can give any random address. And I'm just giving Hyderabad and some zip code and the country I can select India. Let's create. Okay, so it will create one organization for you. Oh yeah, it throws one error. I need to verify my email ID first before we can add this organization. I have used one test email ID instead of this Clark Technologies. I have just used one test email ID just for the safe side. You can also use any other test email ID to avoid some maybe future issues. Yeah. So I have given this one. Here I got a mail and I need to verify this. Once I verify this, then my account is getting verified. Then I can able to use the Clever Cloud operations. So it is getting loaded. I'll go back to that window where I have logged in. So here I can log in. Maybe I can refresh it. Mm, 1 minute. I go to that. I have opened multiple windows. Yeah, here I have already opened it now. I just give it the organization name and all. Now you can click on create. It will accept because you already verified it. So it will take some time, 2 to 3 minutes maybe to generate this. You have to provide some information here. Okay. Oh yeah. Let's wait couple of minutes. The organization will be created and it will show you some other steps. Usually, we have to add one database. Inside the database, you can add any as many as number of tables. But in our case, we have to create two tables. One is for library, one is for books. Okay. But in real-time project, you no need to create anything. Yeah, here MySQL is there. Now just to click on that. It will be available for free version also. So you can select this dev plan. Dev plan is a free plan and by default 10 MB data is available. Let's try with this. Don't go for any paid ones. Just select this free one. Okay. Yeah. Now, yeah. 1 second. So we have created the database. Um, Now you can give the name for the MySQL add-on. You can give any name. Um, let's click on. Sorry, we have created the organization as of now, not database. It's my mistake. So now, what once it is loaded, then it will show you the database credentials. You need to copy these credentials one by one manually, or you can just use this export environment variables. From here you can just click on the copy to clipboard. You can save this somewhere in the notepad. Please make sure you saved it in a notepad and saved it, because we need these details while connecting in our MuleSoft Anypoint Studio. While connecting to the database connector, we have to provide these details. So please make sure you have saved somewhere correctly, or you can do one by one manually: the host name, database name, user, password, port, and connection URL. You can save host, database name, user, just for your understanding, or else you can just already import it, like by using this environment variables in the above lines I have shown, right? From there also you can just download it, no problem. I mean, you can just copy it and you can just add it in our MuleSoft application. Just for the safe side, I'm just saving everything individually. Let me save all things. Okay, so now we have copied everything, right? So okay, now let's come down. We will see one option. Yeah, maybe, yeah, you can just go to this PHP admin to create the databases and tables, everything. You can use this option. Go to PHP admin. Here, yeah, it will take some time to load the page. Once the page is loaded, then you have to create a database and create the tables. So in our case, we have to create one database, and inside that you need to create two tables. One is related to the libraries, one is related to the books. Two are two different things, right? So let's maintain two details in two different tables: libraries in one table, books details in one table, so that it will be easy for you to do the transformations and everything. Okay, so yeah, here let's click on database. It will show you okay, maybe, yeah. Let's click on this one. By default this database is created. Now you have already copied the details. Now you need to create the table inside this database. So don't create new database. Click on this one. Other than that, information schema, you can just click on the another one. Don't use information schema. Just click on the above one. It will ask you to create the tables. So here now you can create the table. As we discussed, we need to create two tables: libraries one and books one, right? Let's see. Let's name it as library details for library information, and let's see how many columns we required. Based on the input data we have, response data we have for the libraries, we can just count how many columns we need. Based on that, we can give the column numbers here. Okay. You can use MySQL Workbench or MySQL also, which is installed locally in your system. But as I said, while deploying it into Cloud Hub, the local database will not work. Okay, so let me open our requirement document again. So I'm just checking this libraries response. List libraries feature we are going to implement it. That's response. That have these few fields. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and in the list library, I mean library ID URI parameter. Based on the library ID, we are going to fetch a complete library information, right? There we can see couple of other fields. So let's count all the fields required. how many fields are there. Then based on that we can give the columns size over there, column number. Okay, here library code, branch, total books, available books, rented books, and this address, phone number, email address. We have to create these many columns in the database, because from database only we are going to pull the details, right? But in real time, remember this point, in real time you are not going to create these tables and all as a MuleSoft developer. Database team will be there. So as of now we need these 8 columns. Now let's click on create. So now we need to enter all the column names here, and type of that column names, and length is also you need to provide. Okay, so remember in your real time, I'm just copying the column names one by one here. You can just follow that. But in real time, as a MuleSoft developer, you are not going to create any tables or any databases in your work. That is not your responsibility. That is not your task as a MuleSoft developer. Separate database team will be there. They will create these tables as per the requirement, and they will create the databases and everything. They will provide the details for you, like what table name you have to fetch the data, and what is the database URL, username, password, which we have just copied. Those details you will get it from the database team. You are not going to do anything. But in our case, as we are doing this project by our own, we don't have any database team separately. So we are going to create these databases tables also from ourselves. Okay. But you are not supposed to do these databases tables and all in real time project. Remember that. And I'm just copying all the columns one by one. And the type, if that column value allows characters and numbers both, you can select varchar is the type. If that column value allows only numbers, you can select integer. Just remember these two things. So I'm just copying one by one all the column names, and data types also I'm just changing. Yeah. And books rented. And in the library ID one, you have few more columns, na? So library code, email address, normal address, and email ID, phone number. These three are the extra fields, right? Let me copy these 4 fields. Also, you can remember, like you don't need to give the same field name. It may be a different field name also in sometimes in some situations. Based while pulling the data, you can map what is the database field name, what is the response field name. That is called field mapping. But for now, we are creating all the table columns and the response fields as it is, because we are creating these tables and response. Both we are doing it from our by ourselves, right? So that is why we are giving same name. But in real time, you can expect this database column names are different from your response fields. For that, you need to again gather the requirements, or you need to again check with your business analyst or whoever provide this requirement to you. You need to again check with them what response field map to what database column name. See, for example, in our response we have library code, but in database we may have code or L code something. So you need to know which column is mapped to which response field. We cannot assume by ourselves, but we need to make sure this field mappings is also there in your requirement document. Right. So in our case, we are creating with the same names, so we don't need that field mapping as of now. But remember this point: while gathering the requirements, you should get this information as well. Along with this response request structure, you need to have. Okay. Second, I think I have repeated this library code again 2 times. Okay, I just removed it and I updated it with the email address field, and I have already added one another column, right? So I just fill it as comments, which is an extra column. We may no need to use it. Okay, let's, yeah, it is asking about length. I missed it. So you can give length, how many letters it should accept, maximum length. You can give maximum length number. So I'm just giving 100 for everything, and yeah, once you click on create, it will create the table for you. Okay, now we have the table structure and we have created the table, but we need to enter some data, right? So the library information fields are not there. You need to enter the data. To do that, we have an insert query. Go to SQL tab and go to insert query. This is the syntax to insert any data into a table. So insert into is the keyword, and you need to mention the table name, and inside that the blue ones, blue names are there. Those are the column names available in your table. Then you need to use a word called values. This is the syntax, basic syntax of any MySQL or Oracle database while inserting the data. You can take this syntax from Google also. So I'm just removing it for now for the values. You can mention all the values in by using single quotes, and you can separate them by using comma, and you need to provide the values in the same order which you have created the columns. So we need to follow the same order. In the above insert statement, yeah, here you have mentioned the column names: library code, library branch, total books, like that. In the same order, you need to provide the values by mentioning them into the single quote and separating them by using the comma. This is the common syntax you can use in MySQL database or Oracle database. So let me fill for one row. I will insert one or two rows now. Maybe I can insert other rows later in the background. By next video, I will make sure all the data is available. Maybe at least 10 libraries or at least 20 to 30 books are available for each library. I can create these tables and data in the background instead of wasting time here. So that is why I'm just showing this process for you. You can also create this table, create any table like this, and create insert the data by following this syntax. You can insert at least 10 rows or 20 rows. I'll show you once I insert all the required details. I'll show you these tables again in our next video, or I can pause this video here itself. I can create the details and I can resume this video. This is the process to creating, because as we are using this remote SQL, this is little bit taking time. But if you are using any NoSQL database or MySQL or Oracle in your system, it will be little easy for you to insert the data. Okay, so once you give all the values, we can see one button called run or execute or go somewhere. So at the bottom of the page, you can see go button. You can just click on that. The data will get inserted into the table. So let me just fill it. Mobile number and the comments. I just for now I just mentioned nothing because I just added it wantedly, that column name, just for giving some extra information. Yeah. So you can provide all the other details also. I just provide nothing for the comments because that is extra column I just have added just. Let's do one thing. Let's copy this statement somewhere in the notepad, because in the future if you want to insert more rows, this command will be handy for you to just replace the values and all. So I'm just copying it somewhere in the notepad. Yeah. So it is having one row information. To insert multiple rows, you need to insert multiple insert statements. So for example, in the library, we need to add at least 5 rows. Okay, let's do. But before that, we need to first, I will show you how to execute this statement. So once you execute this statement, the row is inserted for you. Okay. So if you go end of the window, it will show you go button. You can just click on that. It shows like one row inserted. Okay, like that you need to insert all the information one by one. For example, we can insert at least 10 library details, and in the books table we will create one more books table. We can create at least 3 to 4 books from 3 to 4 books to the each and every library. Okay, so yeah, again it will give you this in this insert statement. So I just copy the old insert statement. I'll just try to add one more row for another library code 112. Okay, I am just editing these values. Once I have done the editing values, I can just click on go at the bottom of the window, then the second row is also getting inserted. Okay, instead of wasting time here in this video, what I can do, as I have already shown you how to create the table, how to insert the data into the tables, right? So for now, let me stop this inserting command here itself once we insert two rows in the libraries. Then later, what I can do, I can create another table, books table. I can insert multiple tables multiple rows in that books table as well. But where one common row should be there, library code is the common row, common column from these two tables. In that way we can create these two tables. So I'll create these tables in the background. I will add the data in the both of the tables. Then maybe I can resume this video. From there I can show you what is the data available. Then in our next video we can do actual database implementation. Okay. So the thing is, as I have explained earlier, if you use any MySQL or Oracle database which is installed in your local laptop, okay, then that is actually you can use for local testing only. But you cannot deploy this into Cloud Hub and you cannot use it. So that is why we are creating this remote SQL. So okay, so I can just I think my system is stuck here. So I think I'll insert these rows in the libraries table, and I'll create one more table called books, and I'll show you once I inserted the data in the in some time. Okay, because I'll pause this video. Okay. Yeah, so I have created two tables with some information. Okay, in the books, yeah. And remember one thing, actually initially I have created tables like library location details and books info, right? So where I have used hyphen in the table name, but please don't use hyphens. As per the syntax, it won't allow to use hyphens. So that is why I have removed those two tables and I have created new tables, book info and the library details without the hyphens. Okay, it is not allowing actually, but we can use underscore instead of hyphens, but don't use hyphens, because I just tried with something to select, to check this connectivity, this clever cloud connectivity, where I have realized that if we have used hyphens in the table name, it will not allow you to access it. I'll tell you how to do this and all in our next video. We will cover everything how to do this implementation. But just as a note, please remember that create a tables without hyphen in the names, okay, and add some data. Okay, now yeah, I have actually, you can also add this data. Okay, then let me just what is this? Maybe the session expired. I'll just refresh it. I just wanted to show how I can insert the data. You can also insert as many as data you want if you have time and patience. So as of now, I have inserted two rows in the library details table with the two branches of libraries, and in each branch we have a couple of books, right? So in the books table, I have created two books in one for one library, three books for another library. I just wanted to show that. So just taking some time to reload. Yep. Okay. So yeah, here in the library details, I have added two rows. See, library IBS 111, IBS 112. These are the two different libraries. One is Madhapur branch, another one is Secunderabad branch. So I have added those information. So we have two libraries available right now in the library table. But in the books table, one library can have multiple books, any number of books, right? So just to demonstrate that, I have added two books for library 111. I have added three books for library 112. Just to show you how we can work with for each loop and all, that's those scenarios. I'll try to add more rows more rows in library details and books details by our next video, so that it is taking much time now. So I can just work it in the background, and I'll just show you whenever we start the new video. I'll show you. You can also follow the same, create the tables and add the data. Thank you. Let's meet in another video. So now we have created two tables and we have inserted some data into these two tables, right? So now let's see how we can establish the connectivity of this database connector in Anypoint Studio. So then we will end this video for now. In our next video, we will see the actual implementation, how we can do that, okay? Because you need to know how to integrate the database connector, how to add it, and all the basic details first. Then only you can focus on the transformations or other things. So what we can do, our requirement is to pull the data. Like if you say this, if you take this requirement slash libraries, it should pull the data from the database, because it need to connect to the database. It need to get the data from the database of all the libraries, and it will send that library information in the response format like this, right? So first let's establish the connectivity, and then let's see how it works. Let's then we can discuss one by one, okay? So I'm heading to my Anypoint Studio. So in this SAPI already we have checked in or commit the basic code in repository as well. And you need to observe one thing. So whenever you have a connectivity for this GitHub repository and all, you will see some other new symbol here, like cylinder kind of symbol, yellow symbol. If this symbol is there, your code is up to date in your local repository and in your remote repository. There is no changes. But let's observe one thing. So you can just for, this is not a mandatory thing. Just for the safe side, I'm just showing you how you can understand if there is any changes happened or not. I just added some random data. Okay, I'll just click on save. Now observe this change. See, some arrow mark is added. So if you have any extra changes in the code which is not committed in the GitHub, that will show you the symbol, the arrow mark symbol. Whenever you see this arrow mark symbol here after this cylinder, you can understand this file is edited. So some changes are there here, like that, okay? So now let's get into our stuff where I have added it. Yeah, I'll just remove it. So if you just remove it and save it, maybe there is no changes. Again, it will go to the cylinder. Yeah, the error mark is edited because the code is not changed. There is no difference between the code existing in your Anypoint Studio and in the remote repository. So like that, you can just observe the things once you're working on. Okay. Right. So coming to the database connectivity, actually, as per the best practices, we need to rename our configuration files. We have a couple of configuration files we have to create. We can just create them, but empty XML files will make some issue while running it if you don't have any implementation. So for now, let's do one thing. Let's rename it. Okay, let's copy this. Let's rename it as api.xml, because only API related code should be available in this XML file. It means API Kit related API Kit router flows and all the resource flows. Only that stuff should be available here. The actual implementation code we have to write in another configuration file, and we need to invoke that file here into this particular particular resource path. Okay. So see, whenever you have added new file, the cylinder symbol gone, it shows plus symbol. It means you have added new file, you have not committed this yet, like that. So let's create one more file. To create configuration file, you have an option like you need to right click on this src main mule and go to new. You can select mule configuration file and just paste the name you copied, and the naming conventions may be different from one organization to another organization, but whenever you see the file name, you need to understand what is the purpose of this file. So api.xml file means all the API related flows will be there. If any implementation is added, maybe you can add in this way: library, IBS library management, SAPI IMPL, or maybe you can say like library IMPL. You can simply, and in another implementation file, we can add like books IMPL. Like that, you can segregate as many as configuration file to make this code readability. Okay, so I am just naming it as library IMPL.xml for now. Okay, but you have to follow the naming conventions of your organization if they suggest anything. and see, this is the question mark symbol is available here. You will see. Okay, so now what you can do, in this library implementation, you need to invoke the data, you need to add the database connector. Okay, so to connect to the database, to get the data from the database, we have a connector available here in the MuleSoft. See, database is the connector one, as the name it specifies. But for one connector, there are lot of operations. Even if you take any other connector example, connector is one, and it will perform lot many operations. So you need to select that connector operation as per your requirement. So in our requirement, database has mainly CRUD operations. We already discussed it in our basics video. So create, read, update, delete. Those four are the basic CRUD operations of any database. Okay. So for this database also we have those four operations. Select is for to read the data. Insert is for to create the data. Delete is for delete the data. Update is to update the data. These four are the main major operations. But MuleSoft will provide another operations, extra operations, which will really help us in terms of major requirements. Like if you want to insert multiple rows at a time, hundreds of rows at a time, if you take insert operator, it will insert only one by one row. It will take lot of time. Okay, so to improve that performance, it has introduced one more operation called bulk insert, like bulk delete, bulk update, like that. So each and every operation has its own purpose. So what you have to do, you need to understand what operation will perform what thing. So based on your requirement, you need to select these operations perfectly. So that is the main first thing you need to understand. So in our requirement, as we need to pull the data from the database, so we need to go with select operation. And if you remember, even in this database also, here also, whenever you select the data from the database, it is showing select query. So to connect with the database, to get the data from the database, we need to go with query operation, SQL query language. Okay. So if you remember, we have just used select star from something or select the column names, like that you need to use. Okay, so let's concentrate on it. It will take some time to load. Maybe, yeah, it is loaded. So I just wanted to show you to get the data from the database. Whenever you click on this table, whenever you go to SQL, you have an operations call like this. So select is to retrieve the data like this. Once you click on go, what it will do, it will connect to the database. It will pull the data like this. In our library table, I have only 2 rows. So that is, it is displaying the 2 rows information. Like that, even from here itself, you can easily understand. Select is to select the data, to read the data. Insert is to create a new record. We have already added a couple of rows, right? So update is means to modify the existing rows. Delete is to delete the rows, like that. So in our situation, as of now in our requirement, you need to select the select operation. So what you have to do, you need to just drag and drop it for now. In this video, as I said, like we need to establish the connectivity first. Then we will see how we can beautify this flow, how we can implement this particular flow with all the best practices and to complete all the requirement. That we will do step by step. But for now, you need to understand how to connect any database in MuleSoft by using this database connector. Okay, just give me 1 minute. Yeah. So you have drag and drop the database connector. So if you want to configure any connector, one thing you should remember, you need to configure that connector globally first with all the common connectivity information. That is called connector configuration is there. This setting is available for most of the operators, most of the connectors. So whenever you drag and drop any connector, you will see basic settings, connector configuration. What it will do, it will this is useful to establish a connectivity with the third-party connectors, because this database is not there in the MuleSoft. We have created this database. In the cloud, Clever Cloud. So this is a cloud version of SQL database. MuleSoft doesn't know how to connect it. We need to configure it. Okay, so to do that, what you can do, just click on this plus button. It will ask you for all the database required details. Okay, so here we have multiple connection types, multiple databases it will support. MuleSoft generic means it will be useful for any of database, and thereby connection is internal database. It will be there for MuleSoft, that is thereby database, and Microsoft SQL database, MySQL database, Oracle database. It will support all these many database connections here by using this database connector. But for non-SQL, I mean, yeah, non-SQL databases are also there. Those like DynamoDB or MongoDB. For that, they have extra connectors. We will not use that this normal database connector for NoSQL databases. They have their own connectors. So by using this database connector, you can connect with Thereby database, Microsoft SQL database, MySQL database, and Oracle database. So in our case, what is a database? It is a MySQL database, cloud version of MySQL database we have created, see MySQL services. So what you have to do, you need to select MySQL connection. Whenever you select that option, it will show a couple of properties. Like this, whenever you see this red mark, it means it is a mandatory field. You need to enter the values for these fields. See, if you remember, we have to enter these details required to connect this database: host, port, user, password, database. If you remember, we have already have this information, right? See, host, database, user, port, password. You can just ignore this URI, but you have all this information. You have copied it once you create this database. You already copied it, right? Initially. See, this is the information: host, database, user, password, port. So we have to enter this information one by one into the specific field here. Then it will establish a connectivity. Okay, but before that, you need to remember one more thing. In database connector, we have to add drivers, JDBC drivers. For any database, you need to add the drivers. But earlier in Mule old versions, we need to install the jar file. We need to just add that into pom.xml file. Manual stuff is there. But in Mule 4, here we are using Mule 4 latest version. Right? Here, how you can add the driver means you can just click on the configure and click on add Maven dependency. It will automatically add this dependency snippet into your pom.xml file. I'll tell you what is pom.xml file and all later, but just remember you need to click on add Maven dependency. It will add some code to your pom.xml file. Every project in MuleSoft will have one file name called pom.xml file, which is used by Maven to build your project. We'll see these details in depth in coming videos. So remember this. Then you need to enter these required values: host, port, user, password, database. Let's add one by one. Okay, so what is the host? This is the host. Maybe I can copy it from UI, that will be easy for you. See, this is the host now. So I just copied this database name. Copy this. And here the database name is there now. Just paste it. Then user, and in your real-time project, database team will provide this information to you. Okay, you need to get this information from database team because you don't have direct access to the database to see these credentials and all. So you need to ask this. Okay, sorry, I pasted it in port. So user. Okay, then password. You can just click this lock button. You can see the password. And one thing we missed is port. So by default, database port is 3306. So this is common actually. Okay. So all the red marks are gone. There are no errors in our connectivity. So what we have done, we have added all the required properties and we have added the dependency for this driver as well. So now if you want to see if this database connectivity is correct or not, if you miss anything value, you have this option called test connection. Once you click on this, it will take some couple of minutes to check the connectivity. It will show you if the connection is successful or not. So once you see, yeah, see here the test connection successful. So whenever you see this message, you can understand like you have entered all the values correctly and you have all the required information to connect with this database, and you are good to use any operations of this database. So just try to test this connection in your real-time projects also. But I have to mention one thing here. In your real-time projects, we are not going to provide the values directly here. Even we will do this later. Okay, so for now, just to show you how to provide these values, how to configure this connectivity, I have given values directly here. But what we are going to do in our upcoming videos, we need to externalize these properties. We need to save these properties somewhere in one file. We need to read these values from that particular file. That file is called properties file. Why we need to do that? See, for example, now the database username is this one. Let's say this user is expired, or they need to reset the password. Again our password will change, right? So what happens, so whenever if some password is changed, we need to come to this code, we need to open this project, and we need to edit this password here, and we need to again deploy this application into Cloud Hub to make that change. Okay, but by using properties file, what is the advantage is that you can directly just you need to just update the property file value. That you can do from runtime manager also. Like that value you can update it from Cloud Hub itself without touching the actual code. That is the advantage of actionalizing the properties in a properties file, and that is the best practice also. MuleSoft will not allow if you give any values like this. Directly giving values in any connector is called hard coding. So MuleSoft will not allow any hard coded values. This is not the best practice. We will optimize this later. Okay, so for now you have given all the values, required values. Click connection, it is okay. Now just click on OK. Let's save this. And coming to that pom.xml file, see, for every project you can see one pom.xml file. Now why this arrow mark is added here? This pom.xml file we didn't edit anything manually, right? We have not yet opened it. Then why this is coming like arrow mark is like while adding this connection we selected like add Maven dependency, right? So that dependency is added here in this pom.xml file. So in that case, what happened, this pom.xml file also like edited, right? Edited, like it is modified. That is why it is showing arrow mark here. And remember one thing, in your pom.xml file, try to remove this date. Whenever you deploy this into Cloud Hub, just keep app.runtime 4.4.2, remove any extra characters. Just remember this point as of now. I'll explain why we need to do that. Once we start CI/CD process, then we can understand better. Okay, so for now we have just added the database connector, we have done the global configuration. Still it is showing some red mark, means it is showing some error. Element SQL is required. SQL means the actual query you can write here. So what we are going to do now, we need to select the details, right? So the select query you have to write here. Select what are the fields you need to select. You should have all the fields, right? Or you can simply say select star from library details. That should also work. We will see later. Or else you can just select the the field names, column names specifically. Okay, whenever you say select star from your database, your table name, not the database name, it will get all the fields, all the columns available in that database. It will pull automatically entire table details. And remember one thing, here in this here in this database connector MuleSoft, you no need to give semicolon. Okay, but semicolon is the syntax you need to follow while you are selecting anything here, or while you are working with any query here. But here it is not also accepting. But some other tools like SQL Developer or MySQL for Oracle database, semicolon should be added somewhere. At the end of the query, not somewhere, end of the query. But some tools expect that syntax, some tools is not expecting. So in our case, you don't need to add anything. You can just say select star from this your table name. So what it will do, your MuleSoft, once you trigger this flow, once you have HTTP listener here, once you trigger this flow, once you call this flow, it will go to the database it will connect to the database. It will it will connect to that particular table. It will pull all the details available, data available from the table, and it will return it back as a response. We can define how that response should look like and how this flow is getting invoked and how we can um, call this flow by using this API.xml file later. So we have done some changes now in this project. What we have to do on daily basis, you need to commit these changes to the remote repository, right? Yeah, that is a best practice and remember everything. So we have done with the today video explanation, but we have done some code changes. So we need to commit this code, right? So to do that, right click on this. Make sure you remember this as a daily practice. Once you are done with some code changes, just commit that code to avoid code miss. Okay. So show in System Explorer. I am usually following this command prompt thing because I felt this is easy for me. But some projects, I mean, few developers will use eGit plugin also. That is also we have done one video in our channel that is publicly available. You can go through that. You can use eGit plugin or Bitbucket or any other thing you can use. But I am comfortable with this command prompt one, so I'm doing it. So once you practice this thing, it is very easy for you as well. Instead of working with any tools, it is very easy for you. Okay, so I just opened this project and right click here, show more options, git bash here. Now what we have to do, we need to commit the code, commit the files which are modified by me. So I have added this API.xml file, I have added this library implementation file, and as part of the database connectivity, I have modified this form.xml file by adding that database dependency. Right, so I need to commit these three files. I need to check in these three files. Okay, so you can see what are the files modified by using git space status. It will show you the list of files which are modified or newly added. See, it is showing renamed, not new. So because earlier we have IBS library management SAPI.xml, but we renamed it as API.xml. That is why you can see the symbol question mark here instead of plus, because if you see plus, this file is newly added. If you see question mark, it is modified, I mean renamed, not modified, renamed. And it is showing another one like modified form.xml file, and it is showing you have one new file also added, api.xml file. Where it is not showing. Okay. Okay, so to commit these changes, what you have to do, first you need to add these changes. So git space add space dot. If you want to add all the files, just follow this syntax. I'll show you how you can add even if you have only one file. So you need to git space status to see what are the files modified. You need to use git space add space dot to add all these files. What happened? Let's see. See, now all three files are added. One is modified one is renamed one is new file. All the different categories is showing in this example actually. Okay, so new file is added, renamed file is also added, modified file is also there. So any changes you have done into your actual code, that will be showing here when you use git status. So now you have added. Now what you have to do, you need to commit this file. So to commit it, git space commit space -m and your message. You can say like database. You can give any comment meaningfully because what changes you have done in these three files, what you are going to commit this change, what changes you are going to commit. Like that you can have any meaningful comments. Database connectivity code changes. I'll just mention in this way. So enter. So now what will happen? It will add your code to your local repository. But you need to push this code to remote repository, right? So let's see if it is there. Azure DevOps. I have not yet committed, I have not yet pushed the changes, but I just wanted to show you the status, current status here. Okay, so I just committed the code to my local repository. Now I need to push this to the remote repository. See, in SRC main mule, you have only old file because we have not pushed the changes yet. The ABS library management SAP XML is there. But now what we have done, we have renamed it to ABI.xml. We have added one more file. Okay, so go to your git bash again. Now you need to push the changes. Let me just open that screen. Okay, let me add just push the changes. So to push the changes to remote repository, we need to use git push origin. Now it will push the changes to remote repository. See, now once you refresh this page, you will see the updated code. See, now I have refreshed it. Now it is showing the actual code which I have committed now. So just now, last change is just now, and the comment from where it is coming, I have added this comment while committing this code, right? Okay, some spelling mistake is there in the connectivity, but this is the comment which I have added and it is showing here. Now let's go to Studio. See, it will show you all the cylinder symbols because you have done all the code changes and you have committed all the code of all files. Even for form.xml, it is showing normal cylinder, yellow cylinder symbol. So this is how you should manage your code perfectly, effectively, by following these steps on daily basis. So if you have done any change, just test it locally. Once it is good, commit the code to the remote repository. Now if something happens, if my system crashes down or if something is not good, I can directly clone that data from this feature branch. Okay, so yeah, by default it will commit into the feature branch because, and you know, you can observe one more thing also here. So once you clone it and import it, it will show you the branch name also here. See, after this SAP, after your API name, it is showing feature API get router YAML flows. This is my feature branch I have created, right? It will show you that feature branch also. So that is why whenever we do that git commit, it is committing the code changes to this particular feature branch. And whenever we run this git push origin, the changes are pushed to the feature branch of remote repository because we are cloning. I mean, we have cloned the feature branch only. Till now, we don't have any code in dev branch or stage branch. Okay, so once we are done with the implementation, I will show you how you can push the code to the other environments also, but we need to discuss what is the environment, what is the property files also before that. So let's discuss that in our next video. Okay, so by now you will understand how to make the connectivity and all. Okay, just practice this. You will see the extension of this flow later. Thank you.